7 steps on how to become a creative genius. So, I've got this information from How to Think Like Leonardo Da Vinci. This is a fantastic book, but to save you time, I'm just going to give you the 7 steps and a little bit of my thoughts around it. Also integrating modern psychology into it, because I believe that even though Leonardo da Vinci was from the Renaissance period, I believe we can learn a lot from his example, but also understand that our modern science confirms, like the antidote of looking at his life. He really was a creative genius. So anyway, the first thing, number one is curiosity. The first thing that really made him a creative genius and makes people today creative and genius is their curiosity. People who are creative are intensely curious about learning multiple different things. They love to learn. They love to understand more and more about different things. Now, when I go to the bookstore, I end up staying there for like 4 hours. That's a long time at the bookstore. Sometimes I haven't had enough money to even buy a book at that time. So I just be like, well, I just bought a book like every 4th time I went there. You know what I mean? So anyway, curiosity is key. You continuously want to learn different things. You're curious to know, what is that? What is thinking? How do people behave? And there's different types of curiosity. Like my friend Lisa, she's really curious about people in particular, where I'm curious about ideas, philosophies, principles, things like that, right? Or history. She's really curious in how people behave. So she knows she's a genius in that area. So whatever you're curious about, you become rapidly better at. Your understanding of that area will grow so much. And that's because you're so curious about it. Now, I know that a lot of it's innate, but I also believe that just starting to do different things can make you curious about more. Curiosity breeds curiosity. The more you know, the more you want to find out. So anyway, so number 2 is demonstration. So what this book outlined is, it called it demonstration. What it really is I guess it would be our modern version of empirical evidence. So, in Leonardo's time, he basically tested common knowledge. He put it to the test. He wouldn't just believe the common knowledge, and I think that's really important. So I guess we could use science, our best empirical science that we have today, where they test empirically different things from the different fields of science we have. But beyond that, we can test it through our experience as well. And that's kind of what the book talks about, is testing different things by experience. And I guess I've heard this done, for example, in marketing with the bloggers today. A lot of bloggers, there's all these different common things that you can, that people say to do. But, I've been following Michael Gelb recently, and he says a lot of things that common bloggers say what to do that aren't just always true, or they might be half true, but they're not completely accurate. And they've done double split testing on which emails work and which different things work. So that's a marketing example, right? So, but you can test anything from your experience, but obviously keep in mind that your experience might not be the same if it was replicated in a different environment. But the principle is that you test things. You don't just accept everything out there, right? And as a human, as a personal individual who has that characteristic, like Leonardo, just picture him. Picture Da Vinci walking around with the mindset of, I'm going to test that, I'm going to do that, and put it to the test, see if it's right, I'm going to analyze that. That really is someone who's a genius. They're through repeatedly doing that, they're going to continue to expand their mind and discover things that the average person's not discovering because they're just cruising along, not even testing anything. You know, they don't even know what they believe. Anyway, so number 3 is use your 5 physical senses. Leonardo Da Vinci was really in tune with his 5 physical senses. So especially his eyesight, he loved to look at different things and see how they moved, see how they, you know, different things interacted, facial expressions. That's why he was such a good artist. But it was also the appreciation, the majesty that comes with, you know, what you can see. You know, it gives you that stimulation. And there's also modern psychology techniques that focus on getting in tune, calming you down, so that through using your 5 different senses. So for example, one might be, you know, you just sit there quietly and you hear a sound that's repetitive, and you just concentrate on that sound. You close your eyes and you concentrate on that sound, and you do that for a while, and that tunes you to your hearing, right? And then you might do the same but with your vision. You just look at one thing and you just concentrate on it. Or you do it with your touch. You grab something and you just concentrate on how that feels in your hand, the texture, or maybe it's your feet. You know what I mean? Same with when you taste things. And you might think, oh, this is a bit stupid, but it's not really, because these outputs, these inputs, are the things that really give us our experience. So the more that we're in tune with our different senses, the more that we can interlock into our environment and really pick up on information that can help us be more creative and understand and think about different ideas and principles, or whatever you want to think about or discover. So the idea there is also that, think about this, advertising, right? I've done my master's in advertising. It was creative advertising, so we always thought about creative ideas, right? But the whole idea about advertising is the best advertisements use a multiplicity of stimuli that attract various different senses. So if it's an immersive experience, say people don't think of an immersive experience as advertising, but that's what we learnt about, is really immersing people in like an experience, right? And that engages more than just the eyes or the ears. It's engaging the physical touch, right? And if there's taste testing or something like that involved, it's involving your taste, your smell, all different areas, right? And the more senses that you can kind of lock in at that point in time on your key branding or message, the more likely you can pull that person to buy or to do something like that. So that's why even when you go to seminars, say these personal development seminars, right? They get you to jump up and down, sing, dance, clap. What are you doing? High-fiving? You know, you're doing all different things. Say this to your partner, say this out loud. You're using your body, you're engaging your body. They're using the presentation, they're using their eyes, they're using their ears, they're using their touch, you know. And so, anyway, that's just one example of how powerful it can be to use senses. Now, you can use it for manipulation, or you can use it, in this case, to be a genius and to study it, to really be in tune with it. You know what I mean? So it's really taking control over it, not just automatically letting things trigger off, but deliberately using your senses. Anyway, I think I've said enough about that. So, the fourth one is being comfortable with paradox. Be comfortable with paradoxes and comfortable with ambiguity. You know, so a lot of people aren't comfortable with things like that. I'd say most people aren't, but creative people are comfortable because there's no problem in having two contradictory things and seeing them kind of work together. Because in a sense, it's grey. They're not really contradictory. They might even be complementary. And so that's really, it's a way of thinking that enables you to learn and understand more instead of judging it and just writing it off. So it's like withholding the judgment, allowing you to perceive, total perception, and hold two different things in your mind at the same time, and being able to say to yourself, hey, this is, not contradictory. These two perspectives enable me to understand so much more about the world. Between these two perspectives, I'm able to have a bigger lens than me just going, no, it's this one, and so, yeah, I've done my best in trying to explain that. I hope you understand it. I might do some more about that in the future, because that's an idea that really resonates with me. And a lot of creative people get judged or misunderstood by other people for thinking like that. People don't understand, people who aren't creative don't understand really that type of thinking. So it would be good for me to delve deeper into that in another video. Number 5, the balance between art and science. So for Leonardo Da Vinci, this was extremely important. If you think about how he analyzed things in like a scientific way, the anatomy, and broke those, how different animals moved, and then that informed his art. So he really was this unique blend. He invented all these things, but he was also known for being a great painter. You know what I mean? So these two things he really embodied together. And you can see how that his genius in both sides informed one another. And even today, this should be, I think today we've lost this type of thinking. We've gone so rationalistic that we've just left the arts by the wayside. You know what I mean? I guess in some genres, some areas of society, there's more celebration of the arts than others, but I'd really encourage a renaissance in the arts again. You know what I mean? And even inform it on science. One of the most recent animations that I really love is, what's it called? I can't remember right now, but it was this one where this psychologist, it's the one with joy, anger, it just slips my mind right now, but Inside Out, that's what it's called. It was a really good film because it's actually based on the psychology of emotions and how emotions work, and you could see her personality shut down, the girl in the story. I really highly recommend anyone to watch that. That's an example of like a modern day science informing art. I think that's so awesome, and they needed the art to really to create the storyline so that children could like it, parents could like it, and it could still educate both children and parents at the same time. And you really have to have that creative mind to do something like that. And I love that film. Number 6, fitness and poise. Leonardo da Vinci was really into, poise. Like he was really into like the muscular, the way things move. You know what I mean? Like he really loved movement, and he embodied that in himself. He kept himself fit and he conditioned his own body. He wrote about how when the blood doesn't flow very well, it's because the body hardens up. So he really believed in, being fit and exercising, and he was muscular, and so it's so important as well. Even today, they've recognized with general intelligence, there's what's called fluid intelligence, and then there's crystallized intelligence. So there's some research claiming that they're different. And fluid intelligence is your ability to, without prior knowledge, to learn something, to use your abilities to learn something. And so they say that regular exercise can maintain your fluid intelligence, because in your late 20s, your fluid intelligence starts to decline or stabilize, right? And by the time you're 30, you're not really going to increase in fluid intelligence. If anything, you're going to go backwards. So, but to maintain it, there's research showing that weight training and exercising can help you maintain your fluid intelligence. And so with this book, it's not really talking about that, but I believe that in Leonardo da Vinci's primitive way, he knew that. He intuitively knew that there was a link between his body and his intelligence. He, even with movement, moving his body, and he was also ambidextrous. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, he could use both hands to write because he practiced writing with both hands. I think that says something, that if you can use more of your body, it's really a mind thing, a mental thing. Because, you know, if your brain's damaged, you might not be able to use different parts of your body. And so being able to train different parts of your body really does help your mind. Number 7. This is my favorite one because I really think that this is really what makes someone like a super genius creative. And it's having an appreciation for the interconnectedness of everything. So it could be called systems thinking, right? So the Renaissance man was really, you know, back in Leonardo da Vinci's time, there's this concept of the Renaissance man, and it's really about learning lots of different areas and allowing those different areas to inform each other. And it's something we've really kind of lost in our modern age of specialization, hyper specialization. And I really believe that this systems thinking is the answer to a lot of our problems. And you know, it's well known in psychology that a lot of creative people have this systems type thinking, this divergent type thinking, where they can think of lots of different things and they can connect them all together. They can see the connections between seemingly unrelated fields and concepts or ideas or infinite whatever, right? And so I think that this type of thinking really is the type of thinking that helps us identify solutions to problems that no one else has really came up with before, because they haven't accumulated the knowledge of these different areas and put them together. And every time that happens, it makes the fields better, it changes things up. You know what I mean? It's technology. What does technology do to film, for example? What does technology do to the music industry, for example? You see, they're real life examples we can see right now with the internet and stuff like that. But for example, what does psychology do to education? You know, and like, we've seen some of that, but we need to take that further. So anyway, guys, I think I've said enough about that. If you want to get the book, there's a link in the description. And this teaches a lot more than what I've taught you today. There's lots of examples in there. He teaches you about mind mapping, so you can mind map your different ideas. I might do a video on that in the future, so please subscribe if you like the content, and I'll be looking out for you.